Produced in high definition by Fox 50. Viewer discretion is advised. Tonight, the global manhunt for Caesar Lorian and part 2 of the murder of Alice Burgess. NC Wanted in high definition starts now.
Welcome to NC Wanted. I'm Gerald Owens. Last week we told you about Alice Burgess of Henderson, a mother of 3 who was murdered 30 years ago. She went to meet friends the Tuesday after Thanksgiving and never came home. Her car was found 5 days later on the outskirts of town. Alice was in the trunk. She'd been beaten to death with a jack from her car. A man was tried for the crime and acquitted. Since then, there have been leads and suspects, but never enough evidence to support an arrest. Family members have struggled to make sense of all the rumors they've heard through the years. In this case, time has not healed all wounds.
It was a couple of years ago. I was sitting out back and I was like, what a hell of a thing for someone to go through. Just, it seems like nobody's doing anything about it.
I think deep down inside, he wants to see it solved. Michael is determined to do this.
She was a good person. And how dare this person to be able to walk through life with no consequences to anything. This, person is sitting right there in that town and goes to get a cup of coffee in the morning and just what an ass.
Michael Burgess has been thinking about his mother's murder since he was 9 years old. In the 3 decades since she was killed, an angry imagination has filled his void of memories. He sees a killer's face beating his young mother, kicking sand on her lifeless body, then discarding her, turning her trunk into a coffin.
We were sitting in my grandmother's home, and she said, if anything ever happens to me, I don't want you kids coming back here. And then 2 weeks later, to the day, we're back there. You don't have anyone to talk to because they weren't smart enough to know what you needed. Your anger just becomes more and more internalized, I don't know. And then when you finally get away, you don't just shake it, it stays with you.
Michael struggled more with his mother's death than Amanda or Melissa did. He had a hard time with it, you could tell. Sometimes I think he cried, He missed his mom.
I felt so trapped. I felt, left behind, stuck there. I never wanted to be there.
In just 8 years, Michael attends his murdered mother's funeral, sees his father go to prison for life, and watches helplessly as his younger sister slowly dies of Hodgkin's disease.
It was worse than the other loss. I think she was the stronger of the 3. She was just a good kid. Good kid.
Amanda was a very brave little girl. She dealt with it. She did not want any pity. She didn't want you to pity her.
She was 12 when she got sick, and she lived through a lot and died at 16. Now I have children of my own, and I think how sad it was that she had to go through all of that without a mom to nurture her.
Unsolved homicides in the SBI are never closed. They are put on inactive status The case was inactive when I received a call at my office from Michael Burgess. He asked the status of his mother's case and if any work was being done.
It was the talk of the town for years. Anywhere in public, people would be carrying on conversation about these things.
And some of the rumors, you know, coming from certain people, some of the stuff could be pretty mean. Me being a kid, I mean, it's nothing really you could yell out at the time. You kind of suck it in and you hold it in. And it makes you angry.
Throughout my life, I've heard rumors around the community about a businessman that possibly was involved in this.
And I try to be objective and think, well, there could be different suspects in this, but I always come back to the same person. And that person is sitting right there in the middle of that town, and nobody seems to care.
In small towns, gossip can be confused with truth, and it's been no different with stories about Alice's alleged trysts, suspects, alibis, cover-ups, even the investigators handling the case itself. One theory posed by Henderson locals is that the killer was Alice's first husband, Bobby Burgess, the father of her children, and by the time of her murder, an alleged drug addict with a criminal lifestyle.
I felt like I always had this longing in me to have a relationship with him, regardless of what kind of person he was.
Ready to go? Yeah. Come on, let's go then.
I guess I could kind of understand why his life went a different way. I just know a lot from his childhood, and it wasn't a good thing. I didn't ever hate him. I always loved him.
He didn't have a voice to defend himself against the people who were saying it because he wasn't here to defend himself, so I guess I had to do that for him. And I guess I put him up on a pedestal.
You got to realize my sister did not let no one talk about their daddy around those children. No matter what he done in his life, she would tell everybody, you don't talk about him in front of me. That's their father.
Alice's first husband, Bobby Burgess, kills a man in Wake County a few years after she's murdered. By 1984, he's convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison. But while in prison, an odd coincidence occurs. Bobby Burgess meets Eddie Larry Williams in prison, the same man who in 1981 had been acquitted of murdering Bobby's ex-wife, Alice. Bobby had assured him right away he didn't think Williams murdered Alice. And Bobby Burgess wasn't the only one doubting Williams' involvement.
If he would have been convicted, would you have felt satisfied that the case was solved?
No, I would have felt like, as long as I had the feelings I did for the reasons I did, a lot of it was certainly not the type of evidence that you could introduce into a court trial. I would have continued to pursue the case. I'm certain that this person that is a suspect in my mind is the one that is responsible.
I've talked to David Waters, the one who prosecuted Williams, and he basically told me his feelings were the same, that he felt like he tried the right man.
It seemed to be two sides. One was looking at a guy who I don't feel did it because I think she actually knew the person that did this to her. And then there's another side who looks at this other guy, but they never really went after this guy. Maybe it's just, the evidence isn't that great or whatever, but I think it's more than that. I think he has power in this small little town. I think he has connections in the right places.
Well, you try not to get tunnel vision. You really want to look at the facts. I mean, we're known to be the gatherers of facts, and since I started looking into this case, it seems like it's very little about this person that I had heard.
I don't think it would qualify as circumstantial evidence. And nothing has occurred, to my knowledge, over the past 30 years, which has, countered that opinion in me. I feel like everything that I've seen and heard since doesn't change my opinion at all. To hear someone say, if you don't do what I say, I'm gonna do to you what I did to Alice Burgess.
Everybody who knows anything about it thinks that it's the one person. During the investigation, he was never willing to cooperate. If I was innocent of something, I'd have no problem coming forward with whatever they asked me to do.
The most important thing in any situation is the truth. I'm not one that subscribes to this modern day theory that truth is relative. I think the truth is the most important thing. Whether someone should cooperate in convicting himself or not is a matter of opinion, but the truth is important and the truth should come out.
There was evidence left behind that could identify someone. We have a lot of resources and technology that wasn't available then. So yes, I think it probably could have been solved if it had happened today.
When I found out that the evidence was gone from the Vance County's Clerk of Court's office and from the Sheriff's Department, that was another hard blow to itself. How does files get gone on an unsolved murder?
Normally when there's a trial, the evidence will stay in the clerk's office and they keep it in a vault. In this case, the evidence was turned back over to our department. Years ago, we had an investigator to go in and organize our evidence room, catalog it, document everything thoroughly, and did a great job of that. When he got to that old evidence, he probably had no idea, had never heard of Alice Burgess, and when he looked at it and saw it was 77, at that time was probably about 20 years old, and he's thinking, this is no good, I can throw this away.
I guess I didn't want to believe that that people were so careless because of incompetence or because of maybe conspiracy or whatever, that evidence is not there. You know it's been unsolved for all these years, but then it comes out, well, maybe they can use DNA and all this other stuff, and then you look at it, and then all of the stuff that they could use for DNA is missing is pretty sad.
If there were evidence, it could probably be solved.
I think it's possible that we can solve this case. I believe that there is someone who hasn't been spoken to. Maybe they just haven't been asked the right questions or haven't been questioned. Maybe they're afraid, or maybe they just don't want to get involved. But there's someone who knows what happened the night that Alice Burgess was killed.
Gosh, just to know who done it and why, and see them being punished.
I don't know if I'd be in control of my words. I don't know. I probably wouldn't be. 15 years ago, I'd love to hold his heart in my hands. I know that sounds extreme, but saying something to him now, I don't know.
It won't bring her back. It will not change anything that happened in the course of our lifetime. But I think it'd be a good thing to know that the person who did it just to know that justice would prevail. I would like to know why. Why did you do this? Argument, no argument? 28-year-old mother of 3. There's no reason for that.
You pray that one day they'll come and tell you, we got him. Do you know what my niece told me when she was dying? She said, Aunt Lou, I won't get to know who killed my mother. And I said, Amanda, you will know before I, Granny, Melissa, Michael, any of us, because you're going on to be with your mother. "30 years has been a long time for her murder. And it's like no one cares. It's like she vanished.
For years, I was so caught up in being angry. The unknowing, it's always been a part of me. I'd like to say that I walked through it and did okay.
Family members and investigators hope for a break in this case, but are afraid too much time has passed. Deputies at the Vance County Sheriff's Office and the SBI have started to re-interview people in the case, and Alice's coat was recently submitted for forensic analysis. Detectives are confident that someone in the Henderson community has information that could fill in the gaps. If you have any information about Alice Burgess or possible suspects, pick up the phone and call our hotline at 1-866-43-WANTED or go to ncwanted.com and click Report a Tip. You don't have to give us your name.
Coming up, from respected Marine to accused rapist to murdering a fellow Marine who was pregnant, Target 20 fugitive Cesar Armando Lorian is next. On this day, supporters mourn the loss of Maria Lauterbach and her unborn child. But it's one day of many filled with intense emotions. Captain Rick Sutherland spoke to NC Wanted by phone from the Onslow County Sheriff's Office.
The fact that our victim was a female and a pregnant female, it was allegedly Marine on Marine violence, has caused a lot of emotional sentiment, and people have communicated their frustration to us.
January 11th, 2008, the Onslow County Sheriff's Office announces the death of Maria Lauterbach and her unborn child. They've been murdered, then burned and buried in Lorian's backyard. This same day, Lorian fails to report for duty. He's already painted over bloodstains in his house and attempted to rob cash from Maria's bank account. The manhunt and murder investigation begin. Clues seem to pop up everywhere. Maria's cell phone is picked up along Highway 24 near Camp Lejeune. Her car is found abandoned near a Jacksonville bus station. Many miles away in Durham, a passerby notices Maria's bank card on the grounds of a downtown bus station. Then Cesar Lorian's truck gets spotted at a Morrisville hotel. It's parked near another bus station and RDU International Airport.
We think that we have theories, logical theories, that explain the majority of the evidence that we found so far, but we are still interested in hearing from the public if they have any information as to how any of those pieces of evidence came to be where they were at.
So where did Lorian go? Authorities confirm the Marine boarded a bus on January 11th, 2008, arriving in Houston the next day. Lorian then allegedly bought another bus ticket, this time to go from Houston to his native Mexico, possibly arriving January 13th in Guadalajara.
If he crosses into a country illegally or under an identity that is not his own, then really we would be back to square one.
Lorian's border crossing triggers the treaties of extradition. Mexican authorities issue a provisional arrest warrant. World Police Organization, Interpol, sends an all-points bulletin to 186 countries, including Mexico. And the FBI creates a wanted poster in Spanish and raises the reward to $25,000 US.
We understand that if he did voluntarily leave this country, he could also voluntarily re-enter at any point.
Wherever Lorian goes, authorities will track every lead to find him. But in the end, his desperation and military training could fuel a deadly showdown.
We believe he certainly has the capability to be violent. We believe that he is the one who murdered Maria Lauterbach. We've made law enforcement aware that when they get in a situation with him or they apprehend him, that he has the capacity for that type of violence.
Lorian is a native of Mexico and speaks fluent Spanish. He has a tattoo of a phoenix rising from the ashes on his left upper arm. He's 21, 5'9", and about 160 pounds. It's possible he's let his hair and beard grow out, and there's a reward of $25,000 for information leading to his capture. If you have information on Lorian's whereabouts, the murder investigation, or about anyone who may have been assisting Lorian in his escape, call us day or night at 1-866-43-WANTED, or go to ncwanted.com and click Report a Tip. Your identity can remain confidential. Coming up, Gerald Owens returns to review tonight's cases.
Welcome back to NC Wanted. Time to review tonight's cases. First, he's the fugitive who's accused of murdering a fellow Marine in Onslow County. Cesar Armando Lorian is 21 years old, 5'9", about 160 pounds. He has distinctive tattoos and may have altered his appearance. Authorities have reason to believe he's hiding in his native Mexico. There's a $25,000 reward for information leading to his capture. Then, it's the 30-year-old case of Alice Burgess of Henderson. The mother of three was beaten to death in November of 1977. A man was charged and acquitted in the case, but investigators and family members doubt he had anything to do with Alice's murder. But they feel certain it was someone she knew. There's a $25,000 reward for information leading to an arrest. If you know anything about these cases, call our hotline toll-free at 1-866-43-WANTED or go to ncwanted.com and click Report a Tip. As always, you don't have to reveal your name. Join us next week as we profile more unsolved cases and wanted fugitives from our area and across the state. Remember, together we can fight to protect the quality of life we hold dear in North Carolina. I'm Gerald Owens. Good night.